Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy Tuesday. I hope that you are having a good week so far and that you are blessed and staying safe and doing all the things. I was supposed to be joined tonight by Charlene Bosworth, but she's not going to be able to join me because the weather definitely got the best of her at her home. Some wind knocked down some trees. So I'm here. And we're going to be talking about something that I think will help with your sales process as the beginning of the sales process to helping you grow your business. So one of the things that I see people struggle with here online is, how do I start a conversation with somebody I don't know? I'm kind of one of those weird people. I'm an introvert, and hey, Meg, good to see you. And please feel free to jump in and offer some help here because Meg's good at this too. It's really hard to identify people to sell to. It's really hard to identify your audience. It's really hard to do any of the sales pieces until you've struck up a conversation with somebody that you don't know. And I've always been one of those random people who just walks up and starts talking to people in the elevator. And I'm one of those really awkward people who will talk to people, on an airplane or whatever, and they'll be sitting there reading, trying to ignore me, and I'll be asking them questions. I'm that person, right? So I find that, it's an interesting place here in the online world because you're always trying to figure out the whole, how do I start a conversation with a stranger so that I can start building a relationship, so I can start building my business. If you have ever struggled with the whole, how do I start a conversation with somebody? How do I get friends? How do I start building a platform? Let me know, raise your hands. I was definitely that awkward person when I came online. And yeah, Meg says I'm that person too, but for some reason I can almost always draw somebody into a conversation, right? When I came online, I did a lot of posting. And one of the things that I learned pretty quickly was that I actually had to make a point of kind of starting conversations with people in other groups. So before I had Women's Entrepreneur Network, before I had 72,000 people in my group, before I had all of these things, I started with nothing. I didn't really know very many people online. I had a LinkedIn profile, which I had been building for a bit. But getting to that point of starting like conversations with people was really awkward and really weird. And hey, Susan, good to see you. So glad you're popping in. And just the whole process of getting seen, getting noticed, having people actually know who I was really, really weird and really, really awkward. And I realized after a little bit, it didn't have to be awkward. So there's a few things that you can do to kind of start to ease that transition. So the first thing you can do is, obviously, if you're not friends with people on Facebook or connected with people on LinkedIn who you've worked with, who you go to church with, people y'all start connecting with people. The next thing is, post stuff that's interesting, funny, humorous. Put yourself out there a bit. Tonight, I'm asking the random question how do I fix my daughter's hair color? Because she has dyed it brown. She's got some splotches in the back that are not as even as she'd like. So how do we make that the same, right? So I'm starting conversations with people and talking about mosquitoes and all the things that life has to offer. So I've gone out and I've started having conversations with people I know. And then I started having conversations maybe with people I didn't know so well. I joined Apex Carry Moms group. I joined Networking Women of the Triangle. And I started having conversations with people. And this is that starting to have conversations with people in the sense of, I would go into the Facebook groups and I would start commenting on other people's posts, not to buy my stuff, not in a weird spammy, dorky kind of way, but in a, hey, can I answer your question? Like if somebody was looking for a pediatrician, I was answering their question about, pediatricians in the area. What was your experience with XYZ pediatrician? Well, here was my experience with XYZ pediatrician, and this is why I think they're good. People would ask about kids. People would ask about breast pumps. People would ask about all kinds of things. So I would start conversations about things I knew about. I would start conversations, if somebody needed help with their senior parents. I had a senior home care agency. I was able to help answer questions in groups that related to parents and all that fun stuff. So, we'd start having real connections. We'd start having, chats. We'd start having conversations with people. And that would lead to, hey, let me send you a friend request. Let's start a conversation, right? And there's a point where you start passing people that you know in Facebook groups because you've been going in and you've been of service, and you start getting connections with people. You start getting more and more connections with people. If you're in business groups, starting conversations with people is really, really helpful. If you're starting in networking groups, starting conversations is super helpful. If somebody is looking for recommendations in those groups, I recommend that you be the hostess with the mostest and be the person who pipes up and offers recommendations for the date night restaurant that you prefer, all of that stuff. It is allowing you to start conversations with people you don't know. People will continue the conversation. Have those chats with them. And this doesn't have anything to do with selling. This is the before selling kind of state, because people aren't going to buy from you if they don't know who you are. And they also have to kind of know, like, and trust you before they're going to be willing to buy from you. So this is that, getting people to talk to you about anything and everything state. Being a real person. Now, there is one thing that is going to kill your business online pretty quickly. There's actually a couple things. One is whining. I don't know why people do it, but if you're running a business online and you are an online business and you do a lot of your marketing of your business online, whining a lot is going to be kind of a problem. Now, you can have bad days. I know I have bad days. I know I've shared a lot of my struggles that I've had with my family, right? But the continual, day in, day out, never having a positive thing to say about anybody or anything is going to hurt your business online. It's going to hurt your online presence. It's going to hurt your reputation. The other thing that we do to ourselves a lot, I don't see it as much now, but I used to see it a lot, is people will list themselves as self-employed. And they are, you go onto their profile, you see their name pop up and they're like, yeah, I recommend such and such for so-and-so. And you're like, cool, let me go look up their business. And you go to look up their profile and it says self-employed. And you're like, oh, it would be really nice if I could find your business. So make sure that, you understand that people are always going to be cyber stalking you. And cyber stalking is a thing. So if they're going to go find you, you're going to post where you work, what your business is on your personal profile. Never ever list the self-employed thing as where you work. Please, for the love of all that's holy. Because that is like putting a giant hand in people's face and it stops sales in their tracks. I can't tell you how many people I've been really intrigued by their profile and I go to look them up and it says self-employed and I'm like, is this person real? Do they really have a business, or are they just kind of doing this as a weird side hustle? Or, especially I see this a lot with estheticians or hairstylists or, people who do massage or, all kinds of things. They're like self-employed. And I'm like, okay. I was trying to buy something from you, but I can't figure out how to buy it from you, right? And Facebook is really weird. It's gotten even weirder because you can't just DM somebody that you're not connected to. So the second step, once you started like passing people and waving and saying hi to them in Facebook groups, is to send them a Facebook friend request. Y'all, you have 5,000 friend spots on Facebook. Start networking and treat your personal profile as speed dating. People need to know what you do and what you have in about 5 seconds to keep their attention. Yep. Yeah, and treat it like a speed dating thing, right? And then you want to connect with people. You want to send out judicious friend requests, not to everybody and their cousin. And then you want to see if somebody is somebody you're interested in connecting with and having a conversation with and saying, hey, I noticed that you were asking about pediatricians. Do you have kids or whatever? Start a conversation saying, I'm from there too. I've got 4. And let me tell you what my kids did last week. And y'all, when my kids were younger, it was like the daily, like, what is the craziest thing you can think of that could possibly happen in my house kind of a week. I had the week where my daughter, who just turned 20 yesterday, went swinging from the chandelier that's hanging in here. We had the week where she broke into the baby locks. She broke through the baby locks. So we had a bin where we stored the flour in our kitchen, and they would kind of stand on it when they were toddlers to reach the counter to be able to like help with stuff on the counter. So we made sure that we always put everything behind baby locks and, that kids couldn't get to it, right? So my beloved daughter decided one time when she was about 18 months old, we were sitting here. This is actually the dining room in my house that has now become my office. We were sitting in here and we hear this odd clanging coming from the kitchen. And we're like, that doesn't sound right. So my husband goes running into the kitchen and you see this really odd look on his face as he, the color just kind of drains from his face. And he's just kind of like, he's like, oh boy. Turns out my daughter, who is actually named Zena, had managed to push the flour bin over to the knife drawer, and at 18 months had managed to pick the baby lock and was standing there banging 2 10-inch chef's knives together, doing, doing, doing. That was the sound that was coming from the kitchen. 10-inch chef's knives. So I used to tell stories about like, here's the latest nonsense or the latest crazies that my children are up to. And I would tell them on Facebook or I'd tell them wherever. And people would follow me literally to hear what kind of nonsense my kids were up to this time. I mean, like y'all have seen, those of you that have been around me for a while have seen pictures of me posting of my kids hanging in the doorway like tinsel. Or, all kinds of crazy stuff. And those conversations, starting to have those nonsensical conversations with people allows you to start having that early hey, I'm not here to sell you everything kind of conversations. And in fact, I actually recently got life insurance for my husband and I. And the woman that I bought life insurance from is Christine Wallors. I highly recommend you talk to her. She is incredibly professional. Y'all, we never talked about me getting life insurance from her for like years, like literally years. It was the getting to know her, getting to know what she does, getting to know how she does it, having the conversations about, oh, well, here's the situation that I went through with my dad. Here's the situation you're going through with, your family, and commiserating through all of the things that we go through in life, parents, kids, connecting with people on a very real level. And just being genuine humans. And it's really amazing how just being a genuine human has allowed me to build a relationship and build a reputation in the community and allowed me to start conversations. Like I've been able to start conversations with a lot of people over, who have children who have mental illness or siblings with mental illness. I've been able to start lots of conversations with people over, the state of my parents. And it's not like I build relationships with people to start conversations, to start down that process of getting to know people with the intention of, okay, well, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. But I do kind of, go hang out in groups of other entrepreneurs, other business owners. So I know that people that I'm talking to are potentially a good audience for me. So I'm building those relationships, and we're having real conversations early on about who we are, what our families are like, what our relationships are like, and everything else, so that we can potentially, maybe down the line, if it's appropriate, have the sales conversations to maybe buy from one another or not. Yeah, exactly. And Meg, this is such a valuable insight, right? The number one key, in your opinion, to selling online is to build relationships. If you're not using paid ads, if that's not the means that you're using, is relationships, right? When we talk about relationships, we're not just talking about, superficial relationships. We're talking about like really building relationships. Having focused on that over sales, suddenly you're the go-to among your friends when they need handmade things, right? I buy a ton of stuff from people who I know who sell stuff online. I have, these really, really cool lanterns. And it's a thing that I tend to buy from people I know, like, and trust. And then, if I see something I like, I buy more of. I have lots of small business owners that I have built relationships with, that I have additional relationships with, that I have additional friendships with. And this is that starting a conversation with the idea of building friendships before I try to sell to people. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do that. If you're trying to get more in sales, it starts with friendship. It starts with relationships. Everybody needs more friends. Everybody needs more friends. We could all use more good friends who have our back. We could all use more friends who, are there when we need them. It's that network that we start to build, those friends in the community, those relationships in the community that allow us to start building our businesses. When you have that platform, when you have those connections, when you have that reputation, it makes the sales conversations a lot easier. That's what I'm talking about. This week, we're actually doing a Sales Solves Problems intensive. I'm doing it with Charlene Bosworth, and it's going to be really, really exciting, because we're going to take that, okay, now you've got lots of friends. How do you know which of them can maybe be part of your audience who might be interested in your products? How do you get them to refer you to the people who need to be in your audience? Because referrals for most of our businesses are going to be how we grow our businesses. So we're going to get referrals, we're going to get relationships, we're going to start building the business and get the sales. But it all starts with these crazy conversations about, did you see what my daughter did swinging from the freaking chandelier? Or, let me tell you about the time that my daughters burned out the ceiling fan in my bedroom. Yes, I've had my daughter go swinging from the chandelier. And then there was the episode with the ceiling fan in the bedroom where they managed to burn out the motor in the ceiling fan. The story is roughly, and she'll probably like pop out of her room when she hears me talking about this to correct me, because I'm sure I have the story wrong. I keep saying that she went swinging from the ceiling fan, and it's a really good idea that we have the braces in the ceiling for that ceiling fan. But Xena was up on the end of the foot of my bed, and she was reaching up and jumping up and grabbing the pull cord to start and stop the motor on the ceiling fan. And her sister was at the wall flipping the switch at the same time, and they were seeing what happened. if they did the both at the same time. So I jokingly say my daughter went swinging from the ceiling fan, and she was just like actually like jumping up and grabbing the chain and yanking on it. Well, they managed to burn out the ceiling fan. And apparently they came out and they're like, Mommy and Daddy, there's a really funny smell in your bedroom. Well, it was because they had shorted out the ceiling fan, and it was arcing and sparking every time they did the jump, pull, push the buttons on the wall at the same time thing. So my daughters nearly managed to burn down the house trying to test out the ceiling fan. So when I say my kids have tried just about everything, I'm not really kidding. My kids have tried all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you think your kids are worse than mine, maybe we should have, or have been more creative than mine, we should maybe talk. Yeah, my kids sound like they're as much fun as yours. Yeah, you know, when people tell me stuff their kids do, I'm like not surprised. Like really, truly, there's very little that your kids could do that would like, or my kids could do that would really surprise me. That people are like, yeah, you know, my kid did such and such. Oh yeah. So, you know, it's about being friends, being friendly, being friends. You know, there's nothing worse than people who send me a friend request, and then the next thing I know, they are sending me the, hey, how is your business doing? Y'all, my business is doing fine. Hey, how would you like to generate more leads in your business? Okay. You know, when you get that person who's got like that 4-question script that they're reading out, that's not how you do sales online. It might work for somebody some percentage of the time. I'm sure it worked for somebody somewhere. And somebody is absolutely convinced somewhere that that works. Really, if you approach it more with an organic reach and having real conversations and really connecting to people either through hobbies, through children, through whatever, through shared connections and shared experiences, that's where the numbers start to grow in your business. So we're doing this workshop starting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. It is Sales Solves Problems. We're going to be talking about identifying your audience. We're going to be talking about narrowing it down. And then we're going to be talking about actually selling to people and having the actual sales conversations. And the cool thing about having a real sales conversation with people is that it's very different from what I see recommended by a lot of like crazy ass coaches here in the online world. An actual sales conversation is really a, how can I help you? And how can I help you find a solution for problems in your business? It's not about me doing something to you. It's not about, sales is never really about doing something to somebody else. Sales is about helping your client meet a need, meet a goal, meet a desire, get something that they want in a way that they want it, in a way that they need it, and making so that you both feel good. It's not just about taking as much money as possible from people and then go running screaming from the door. So with that, I'm going to send everybody blessings. Check out the workshop. We will talk soon. I hope that you have an awesome night. Stay safe, and we'll talk soon. Bye.